I'm going to talk to you about three things which I believe are important for innovation. First is you have to be empathetic to yourself. Second thing, which is very underrated, is sleep. The third thing is sustainability, which I must say is being taught in some schools. I would like to end by saying that really the future is going to be bright. India as a country is making strides. We today on Business World ran 2 articles. How India, I don't think it's left to anybody's imagination. In the next 6 to 10 years, we'll do better than we've ever done. We will, when the Prime Minister would talk about a 10 trillion economy, some of would laugh. I think it will happen sooner than later. And the other thing is about, yes, there is a dollar exchange and that reduces the size of our GDP in dollar terms, right? But I'm sure even on that front we'll catch. India has shown leadership in many domains, while in education in past, we've learned from American schools, from European schools, the Danish schools that we used as example of learning. I think the future belongs to integrating technology, the learning of ancient Indian wisdom, and very importantly, the traditional methods of teaching are, in my view, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, are here to stay. Artificial intelligence must be taught in schools, must be used in schools, but artificial intelligence is a tool, it's not learning by itself.
Friends, when I joined AICT, that's the time ChatGPT was sort of announced. That was last year. Okay, ChatGPT 4 came out. I wanted to understand what AICT does, so let me see what these artificial intelligent models, chatbots, have understood about AICT. Believe me, when I asked to write, it threw about 15-20 pages of all, because it's all what is there in the internet. It just collated and threw at me back within 10 seconds. And I said, write a poem about AICT covering everything. Believe me, in 10 seconds, there was a beautiful poem about AICT covering all its activities better than what I understood by that time. Then immediately, I was not satisfied. As a human being, I said, write this poem in Hindi. In another 5 seconds, an Hindi poem covering the activities of AICT was out there with 4 stanzas. So what do we think about a poet's job? Even if I asked a poet to write this poem, he would have taken 1 year. Let me tell you why. Because he has to understand what AICT does first. Okay, and read all the material, churn it in his mind, and then think about writing a poem. But anyway, I did not satisfy there. I took a delegation on semiconductor to Taiwan. And then, when we visited, for Taiwanese, Taiwan itself is not a completely independent country yet. Okay. When we visited, they thought that the big delegation has come from India, 10 vice chancellors and then chairman of AICT. So they had arranged all the students' project also on display. One of the student project caught my attention. This boy has developed a robot to play a guitar, okay, the music. That's, I think, I have seen that in many of the Institute Innovation Councils, AICT, Institute Innovation exhibitions. Many of our students also does that, because nowadays the development of a robot is not a big thing. But what it attracted me, that particular student project, is he has used AI to even compose the music and play that through a robot. So this is much more worrisome than the poet job what AICT did. The AI did a poet's job by writing a poem. Now a musician job is also taken away by the AI.
A dark, cold, moonless night. Date 31st December 1997. Place Leh Military Airfield. Altitude 11,000 feet. Rarefied atmosphere. For those who do not know what rarefied atmosphere means, ask a Fauji. Rarefied atmosphere means that the oxygen is less, very less. Your lungs scream for oxygen. This night, the mercury had dipped down to minus 15 degrees. And when the world was celebrating to usher in the new year, a lone lady officer was supervising her team that was tasked with clearing the snow from the military airstrip. The purpose was to clear the airstrip so that the aircrafts of Indian Air Force could land in the morning. The Indian Air Force is the only connect for every logistic supply and movement of men and material. Well, this was also the time when women officers were very few in this alpha male domain, all across men, and only one lady officer. That night, all eyes were on that lady officer. Whether she could lead her men, battle-hardened men, in this physically and mentally daunting scenario. Can she get the runway cleared? Can she make it possible for the Indian Air Force planes to land well on time? There was no margin of error. She knew that her personal conduct and professional acumen is the only key to survive. Rather, not only survive, my dears, but to thrive. After many hours of relentlessly being on tarmac, motivating her team to work harder, she finally was satisfied and gave a thumbs up to ATC. A big shabash to her team. They all said Happy New Year to each other with steaming hot mugs of tea brought from the langar. The men, they silently accepted her as the leader.
While Google has been there for quite some time, the cloud business is not that old. So, I mean, most of the people in India are like 3 or 4 years in the Indian market. But what has been happening is we've been working with education a lot. And along with education, when the word tech comes in, that's where I think the transformation happens. I think the solutions are always centered around the student. And in the process, there are multiple stakeholders to be worked with, which is the school administration, the teachers, the entire support staff, the parents. So how do you kind of get all of them? Because transformation will happen to the student when these stakeholders also understand how does tech influence them or how do they apply tech. I'm about to talk to you is mostly on two parts. One, how is Google, when I say Google, not just Google Cloud, how is Google looking at education? Second, a little bit about AI, but then more importantly, how do we want to engage with colleges, universities? Largely, this is aimed at higher ed. And in the process, how do we engage with companies who want to work with these colleges or universities? Okay, so if you look at, when we look at education and we look at our products, what we offer, there are 4 key pillars which come to that. The first is access. And access is to devices, whether it is to Wi-Fi, and it is equitable access. The second is working with educators to adopt whatever technologies used to be accessed, whether it is a Chromebook, a laptop, a smart board. So that's where the capability comes in. The third pillar is content. Now, we are not into content, but yes, we have platforms where content is being created, like YouTube is there, or there are companies which create content using our tools on our devices, and that content needs access as well as capability. And the last thing is, if technology is going to be used, you need to be able to measure it in some way or the other. Is it adding benefit to teachers? Is it adding benefit to students? What's in it for the institute or for the parents? And then not just measure, but also be able to take corrective action. Like, are all students learning curve might be very different. Now, for a teacher in a standard class of 35 to 40 students, it is very difficult. But can technology come to the aid and provide that analytics? So that's where I think we are looking at technology as Google to play a role. And we are partnering with different organizations who are building solutions and also some taking our solutions to the educators. So that is how we look at education here, not just here but across the world.
So we actually went out and sought applications from hundreds of startups. So we had, as I said, hundreds of applicants, and we went through a very systematic process of getting to a short list of about, a dozen, and then getting to ultimately, the top 5 award.
First, we have AI and its impacts, then issues with AI, or basically ethics in AI, then jobs created due to artificial intelligence, and jobs that cannot be replaced by AI. I've only mentioned 2 of its impacts, which is education and finance. First of all, as I stated, personalized learning. So personalized learning platforms such as Brilliant tend to understand the students' learning abilities and create tasks and exams specifically for the child. After that, we have virtual classrooms. Now, due to COVID-19, we have been more elaborate and, it's not really alien to us anymore. After that, we have language learning apps. So I myself use Duolingo, I'm sure After that, we have educational content creation. So nowadays, no one really pays attention in school. You sleep in school, you rest in school, you come back home and you watch YouTube to learn, or you use AI platforms to learn.
शादियों में सालियां जूते चुराती हैं,
लेकिन मंदिर के बाहर से कौन से साली जूता चप्पल चुरा लेती हैं, अभी तक समझ में नहीं आया।
मंदिर के बाहर से, हाँ। अच्छा, कुछ महिलाएं तो इतना सज संवर कर मंदिर भी जाती हैं, ऐसा लगता है
दर्शन करने नहीं, दर्शन देने जा रही हैं।
अच्छा, कुछ महिलाएं सर ऐसे जगह पर जूता चप्पल सैंडल खोलती हैं जहां से भगवान भी दिखे और जूता चप्पल भी दिखे। इधर भजन चल रहा है,
जय अम्बे गौरी, सैंडल,
ऐसी हालत होती।
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.